So while we wait for the presentation to begin, I just wanted to say that it is to be here today and to talk about what we do at HAFL in front of the audience, in front of the people of Ukraine, is humbling. It requires an exercise in humility. And that's not something which is my strong point, I'm sorry to say, but I'm French, you know. So I hope you will be lenient, okay? I come from forestry. I've been working on forest management for over 30 years now. But the reason I'm here to talk to you, whether you're coming from insurance, finance, blockchain, artificial intelligence, healthcare, first responders, or even the armed force, there's something that you all have in common with what I do, and that's the choices people make, the way humans make decisions. And I want to talk about precisely the one blind spot in all the way we collectively, in Ukraine, in France, in Switzerland, all over the world we have, about the way we take decisions individually and together, collectively. The title of the presentation is precisely hinting at that blind spot. What is foresight, and how do we work together better? Two quotations to begin with that actually tell you where we come from. And the first one is by the philosopher Baruch Spinoza. And he says that I have striven all my life not to laugh at human actions, not to weep at them, not to hate them, but to understand them. And this is what I will try to do here today with you. And the second quote that I really like from the other philosopher that guides my research is by the famous philanthropist Darth Vader, who says strong people don't put others down, they lift them up. So that is also what is guiding us. Can we empower people to take better decisions together? Can we empower people to shape the future together? Whether we're working in forest management or in city rebuilding or in digitalization of the economy. The war will pass and Ukraine will stand. But that is only one of the many problems Ukraine will have to face in the coming weeks, months, and years to come. Because as you all know, this is just one of the forms of a global crisis. In my field, in ecology, we understand systems as being in a perpetual state of change. This figure that you have here is taken from a famous book called The Panarchy, and the Panarchy states precisely that. Things keep moving, and systems, ecosystems, rivers, countries, go through a flow of conservation, crisis and release, reorganization and growth. In Ukraine today, you are going to a crisis. It's part of the release phase. It's not of your choosing, but you're dealing with it. Maybe it will also be an opportunity to reorganize, but in a different trajectory than what we are currently doing globally. If you have to face the biodiversity crisis, if you have to face the climate urgency, if you have to face the increased polarization of the political debate. And I want to start with a few words on a little book I really like, which I really strongly suggest everybody reads, The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. Why? Because it helps me think. It helps me understand myself. 5 laws, very briefly. The first law, we all underestimate the number of stupid people around us. No matter what subgroup of humanity you select, there will be a proportion of stupid people inside hiding. That's the first law. The second law is that the probability that that person is stupid is independent of anything else, of any other characteristic, gender, religion, race, affluence. Anybody can be stupid. In any group, you will find stupid people, okay? The third law is the most interesting one. The third law defines what a stupid person is. And the author of the book says and defines a stupid person as somebody who creates losses to others and doesn't gain anything in return. This deserves a little bit of explanation. A very simple mathematical model is behind that, or graphical model. On the x-axis, what interests me, I win or I lose. On the y-axis, what interests you, you win or you lose. Depending on where we are in our interaction, we will have an intelligent interaction. If it's mutually rewarding, you win and I win, that's perfect. We all love that. But if I win at your expenses, I'm a bandit. That's not good for you, but very good for me. Okay? On the other way around, if I lose but you win, I'm a victim. You are the bandit. So you see that there is a symmetry here. And the problem is that sometimes we find ourselves in situations where nobody wins, everybody loses. That is a stupid interaction. Fourth law. Non-stupid people always underestimate the destructive power of stupid individuals. And the fifth law that I really wanted to show to you is that a stupid person is the most dangerous type of person we can find. Okay, this is just a starter. Why are we stupid? Because any of us can be stupid, me including. Why are we stupid? Because you see this fine line? That's the line of equity. This is our gains are equivalent and our losses are equivalent. We're very happy in that line. But it's a very thin line. And the fact is I hate being on top of that line because you're winning more than me. And you hate being below that line because I'm winning more than you. So we as primates hate being anywhere else than on this line. Second factor that makes our life difficult, this other line. This is the line that makes the difference between the creation of value, everything that is on top of it, and the destruction of value, everything that is below. And guess what? It's easier to destroy than to create. Therefore, if you mix everything together, I don't want to be away from the middle ground, and it's easier for me to destroy. I will find this as a very easy strategy to deal with you. You, on the other hand, will find it very easy to develop this kind of strategy. Therefore, together, we go down the path that nobody wants. We become stupid. How do we become stupid? We become stupid when we close our minds to the possibility of the common future. We become stupid when we narrow the complexity of the world and we conflate our interest and yours and the others. That's how we become stupid. How do we become unstupid? It's the opposite. By opening the field of possible solutions and examine the possibility of a mutual future together, at the risk of I become a victim of you. That's well understood. So everything that simplifies thought makes us stupid. Everything that complexifies thought makes us clever. And this leads to some lessons about leadership, the kind of leadership we give to ourselves in our business, in our democracies, in our civil engagement, and how do we engage in collective action. Because this simple model I presented to you, you can use it for everything, including, for example, the SDGs. I can start looking at the relationship between no hunger, no poverty, and life on land, two of the SDGs. But it could be anything of your interest. We thought to understand why for 30 years we have been unable to operate systemic changes to address climate change and biodiversity. The people are on the streets, the scientists are raising the alarm, nothing seems to be working. We understood that we had to go into the minds of decision makers to understand that global paralysis. And this is what I propose to you now, and that will be the conclusion of my talk. How do we think and why do we fail in changing systems? This will look like a path. It's a theory of mind, in other words, how I think other things, and it will look like a walk with bifurcations. I want to understand why somebody is not changing the way they're doing. The first question that person needs to ask is, have I heard there is a problem? If I've not heard there is a problem, I will not change. I call myself the uninformed. Okay? And I continue doing business as usual, because I don't know there is a problem. If I've heard there is a problem, the second question, is this real? Because if I think this is fake news, I will not change. Not only that, I will actually resist the narrative of change. We call these decision makers deniers. If I accept the reality, then one more question. Does it matter to me? And in the field of climate change, in the field of biodiversity, many of us say, no, sorry, we have better things to do. And sometimes this is extremely legitimate. In that case, we call these decision makers the occupied. They are busy doing something else. Sometimes this is extremely valuable. Sometimes you're fighting for your freedom. Sometimes you're fighting for your life. But sometimes you just need to present your balance sheet to the shareholders. Maybe sometimes what you really need is just to be re-elected. There are many different reasons to be occupied. If you're busy doing something else, you will not spend time looking for solutions. You will not give time, attention, and resources to that. Since 2019, in our field of environmental issues, we realize that there is an increasingly number of people who say, wait, stop, things matter. We need to change. There is one more question then. Can I do something? And many of us stop here in frustration because we lack power, knowledge, money, time, resources, influence, whatnot. We lack the means to operate the change. We call this the concern. And if you follow me, you see that in this theory of mind, there is space for someone to become architect of change, to actually, here there is a problem, accept its reality, face the responsibilities, and find the means to operate that change. We call them architects. And why is this useful? Because then you identify that sometimes the discussions you need to have with people deal about the lack of information, but sometimes it's completely different. Sometimes it's a matter of beliefs. Sometimes it's a matter of values, and sometimes it is just a matter of means. And on that we can work easily. I will not change your values. I will not change your beliefs. This is what makes your identity. But we can work together on the means to operate change. We have designed methods to do that and improve, both in terms of leadership and collective action. We have designed methods and tools to help anybody become architect. Move through these to be able to operate change and decide whether or not they want to manage the landscape, their village, their company, or the entire sector. And these methods, we're actually training. There is a module, certificate for advanced studies here in Switzerland that took 30 refugees from Ukraine, mostly women, to start gaining knowledge about building infrastructure, so engineering, digitalization, but also what is sustainability and how do you bring about change. As you go through the process of ending the war, of winning the war, and reconstructing your country, do not forget the blind spot about how you make choices individually and collectively. And when the time is there, we will be here to show you these methods. Thank you very much.